Alright, well, welcome back and thank you for following along. So, I hope that you made some progress with your project as well. This is where we should be at this stage. We have all of our side material cut, we've got the doorway cut, we have notches cut, so all of our inside-outside walls are ready. And now we were building the floor, so we had the top floor, which we cut the length, we cut the width, then we cut all of our framing, installed the framing, and then we installed all of the insulation. Now we're ready to install the bottom piece in which our Filon will attach to. This will be then flipped over and become the bottom of the trailer. So let me give you a shot of what I'm doing, why I'm doing it this way, and we'll get started. So this will be your next step. So I have temporarily fastened a 3/4 1x2 here on the side of our framing, which you can see the bottom of our floor here. This is to allow me to create the overhang for my 1/4-inch plywood in which the Filon is going to go on, and that's what the side of the trailer is going to rest on once it's flipped over. So I want to make sure that this edge is exactly 3/4 inch away from my frame and all the way down. And I did that to both sides. So we've got a stick on each side, fasten it to the frame, and then I just temporarily clamp the floor in place. Now, according to our plans, which I'll have to pull out and show you here in a little bit, this is the edge of our frame. 3/4 inch back is where this piece of plywood is going to stop, and then when we get ready to do the outside ceiling, the 1/8 inch bendable plywood will rest on this area, and that'll give us a place to fasten that to. Then the Filon will fasten onto that, and then we'll probably have some diamond plates, so this bottom section will be flush. Once everything is complete, we'll put a little trim across here. So what I have done for this edge of plywood, now this is the way I'm doing it, is from the edge of my frame I went back 1 3/4 inches and I clamped everything in place. So currently my plywood is flush with this side of the frame, 1.5 inches back on my front of my frame right here. And then I've got an overhang right here, of which I am going to take a router and trim this piece of wood off on the front section here, and then I'll slide everything back 3/4 inch. That way it'll leave me a 3/4 inch gap on the front of my frame, as well as a 3/4 inch gap on the back of my frame, and then the sides will be true. So everything should be square. I'll have a nice straight edge here, I'll have a nice straight edge here, so when I get ready to fasten the ceiling on, it'll butt up true, and when we bend it around I won't have a problem with it not lining up with the side walls. So we'll go over that a little bit more when we get the drawing, but for now that's where you should be. You got your floor cut, you got your frames installed, insulation underneath, and then I'll give you a dimension for the length, just in case you want to just pre-cut that. This is the way I'm doing it, but if you want to take the plywood and cut it to exact length and then set everything in place and nail it, glue it and nail it, that's fine. But this is the way I'm going to do it. That way I've got nice straight true cuts that'll match my framing. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and cut that end off, and then we'll get lined up on our marks, take a look at it, and then we can get it glued and fastened down. Okay, we're getting ready to attach the floor. So before we do, one of the things that we want to make sure is we want to find the center of all of our studs, and we want to mark those on the ends here, because once we get the floor on, we're not going to know where these studs are. So we're going to mark for the centers. We'll draw a chalk line, that way we have something to staple to, but also, like I said, these parts here are what fastens to the trailer, so we need to know where these parts are when we go to set it on the trailer. So once we get the bottom attached, the Filon on, then we're going to make a line where the center line of all of our sticks are, so when we line it up on our trailer and get ready to run the bolt through and fasten it, then we're fastening through some wood. And also, probably the most important part, mark which is the front. The front is going to be this longer section right here. That's the front of this trailer, and then the shorter ones are in the back. So mark the front and all the center lines for your sticks all the way around. Then we're ready to blow this off, throw down some glue, set our plywood on, mark our lines, and we'll get this thing stapled up.
Go ahead, snap it. I don't know if my camera's going to do it.
Alright, so now we have our bottom flooring attached to our framing, and we've got all of our ends marked so that when we put the Filon on, we'll know where our marks are, at least where our studs are, so when we go to fasten it to the trailer, we're fastening it through the wood and not the foam. So, the framing itself was 6'8" overall, and 1.5 inches shorter, so we're 6 foot 6.5 inches, and with about a 3/4 inch reveal on the ends of our frame, and that's where we're going to put our 1/8 inch bendable plywood when we curve for the top section. So this part is finished. It's cleaned up, looks good. I think what I'm going to do next is we're going to grab a roll of the Filon. We'll get that set out here, let it stretch out and lay, and then we'll be trimming that up, and then we'll spray some glue on the Filon and on our base, and we'll get that attached. So that's our next step. This is where you should be. Hopefully you're following along, building along, and we're rolling along. Yeah. So let's get some Filon out.